Welcome to this video. I'm going to be talking about the Seven of Wands, this card on the right here. When I discussed the Six of Wands, we had this lovely symmetry of the card with the nice flames all looking the same and going in the same direction with the open lotus blossoms. Here the lotus blossoms are closed. The Adept's wands are turning red, and the astrological attribution of this card, Mars in Leo, these glyphs are also skewed, and as you can see the flames are now dispersing rather randomly. And also we've got this rather cumbersome looking club in the centre of the card here. The title of this card is the Lord of Valor. So what I'm going to do first is go through the divinatory meanings of this card, and then we'll have a little look at the philosophy behind it and see why it's proved to be a difficult card, despite the fact that we've got a number 7, which numerologically is, you would think, it's a good number to get, and also Mars in Leo is normally a good pairing. We still have a difficult situation in hand. So we'll go through the upright and reversed divinatory meanings of the Seven of Wands next. Some upright meanings for the Seven of Wands. This first one is like a central theme to most of the meanings. Essentially, wands are associated with ethics in a way of right living, because we have the virtue card, which I've already discussed, and also they're associated with the fiery world of Atzilus, which is the first Kabbalistic world, and it's to do with that fiery inspiration. Being fire, it's a very pure energy. So this card might show in a reading when you find yourself forced into a position where you're fighting for what you firmly believe in, those goals which are so closely held to you. Again, with Mars in Leo, that pairing does bring about a lot of passion, with Leo ruling the heart, and it's that stance that sometimes needs to be taken, even though you might be reluctant to take up the fight because it can use up a lot of your resources. There are certain situations where you feel compelled to stand up and be counted. And I've just added on here, if you don't stand for anything, you stand for nothing. So it's a process of fighting your ground. A situation where you're being tested to your limits, but your courage and strength will show through and help make a success out of your challenges. So it's showing courage when our subconscious sometimes wants to hold us back. I'll just go to the Rider-Waite card here. We've got the man standing on the cliff top or hillside, and you've got all of these other ones here, and you don't actually see any of the characters associated with these wands. So that could actually relate to our subconscious and actually having a battle with those feelings. Next, it could relate to a situation whereby instead of getting support, we are getting competition, and so we have to use a lot of our energy to maintain our stance, and that could be in the workplace, for example. There also needs to be an acceptance with this card that you're not always going to be able to please everyone. There will always be those that are going to challenge your viewpoint, your beliefs, and so you must really defend what you believe in. So as I said, it's all around the theme of fighting for your heart-held beliefs, because valor, as a definition, is courage in the face of battle. Seven of Wands reversed. This is when this card becomes more difficult. We seem to be fighting a losing battle. Only our courage is keeping us going. We may feel that we're on a sinking ship in our present situation and there's no outcome in sight. So obviously we'd need to have a look at the rest of the reading or deal some more cards to unfold the best course of action. Giving in to the demands of others against our better judgment, so it's giving in to those pressures. Defending our position or someone close to us at all costs, despite not being on the moral high ground. Stubbornness in seeing the viewpoint of others. And again, depending on the subject of the reading, it can relate to relationship problems, where we are now running out of energy and ideas as to how to keep that relationship going. Or it can relate to a friendship or work situation where our spirit is being tested to the limit and we're getting to the end of what we can give, again with no end in sight to the situation. It could also mean lacking courage or energy to face our current challenges, or there are just too many things that are sapping our energy. And lastly, I've just put down battling our subconscious thoughts and being overrun by them for much of the time. So in other words, these subconscious thoughts here are getting the better of us and we're no longer being able to see a picture successfully going forward. So those are some of the common divinatory meanings associated with the Seven of Wands. We'll come back to divination in the last section of the video, but we'll just go through some of the finer points of what is happening in the Thoth version of this particular card. In terms of the numerology, we get the heptad or seven-sided shape. Here is a seven-pointed star, and it can represent the days of the week or the seven classical planets. The number 7 is also talked about in the Bible a lot. The ark came to rest after 7 months, and then the dove was let out after 7 days, and there's so many, like there's 7 plagues. Number 7 is also talked about in the book of Revelations, which is associated with the chakras. Here we've got the major arcana card, the Chariot, which is the 7th in the sequence of the majors. And as we can see, he's got some armour here, so it indicates some form of battle. And we certainly see that within the Seven of Wands here. So the 7 can be, I've just drawn this little diagram here. We've got this square, which is like the material, the practical, the earthly bit, and we've got a triangle here which is representing the Holy Trinity, and it's essentially spirit coming down into matter. And this circle here is just representing potentially the completeness of the 3 and the 4. We see the 3 and the 4 in the Hanged Man and also in the Emperor, so it is talked about more extensively in the sequence of the major arcana. And they have a common centre here, so you get some sense of harmony. The problem is when we look at all of these 7s through the suits, we have Valour, then it quickly degenerates in the Cups to debauch, futility and failure. So there's something else going on apart from the influence of numerology. Valour is, even though we've got a battle here, we still, if we go through the divinatory meanings, we've still won that battle just. But if we look at the other suits here, it is a quick deterioration of the energy in that card. So what we'll do is we'll look at the position of the 7 of Wands on the Tree of Life, and perhaps that will give us some guidance as to where the difficulties with the 7s lie. I'll now try to explain as best I can why the Seven of Wands is such a battle, and indeed if we look at the sevens throughout all of the suits, the energy after the Seven of Wands quickly degenerates. We've got debauch in the cups, futility in the swords, and failure in the discs. So we've got a victory that's been hard fought here, and the remaining three situations are very difficult. So we'll go back to the Tree of Life diagram here. I've done this myself and put it in relation to the Thoth deck with the Emperor and Star swapped for each other. The Seven of Wands is associated with Netzach here. Netzach is on what is called this right hand pillar of mercy. We have a left hand pillar of severity on this side. So we have the seventh sphere. Each one of these spheres are ruled by a particular planet, and Netzach is ruled by Venus. Now Venus is a soft feminine energy, and also it's quite low down on the Tree of Life. If we see, we've got Keter here, the spiritual source. We've got the balancing Tipperet here in the middle, but this is to the left and it's far down, and it's got this direct link with the earthy part here. So I'll just quote you from the book of Thoth here, because Crowley describes this rather well. So he says on page 192 that the 7 is a weak, earthy, feminine number as regards to the Tree of Life, and represents a departure from the balance being the central pillar here, so low down on the Tree of Life, that this implies a loss of confidence. And if we go back to the original slide here, you can see on the Rider-Waite card here, he's got different shoes on. He's unsure of his footing, even though he's standing up for his inner beliefs, his inner core. He's still unsure whether he's going to succeed, and it's this energy of the club here that is just pushing back these wands that were so balanced and symmetrical in the Six of Wands, and you've got this resultant flames here which seem like frictional type flames as one pushes against the other. So I have to ask, why have we got a victory in Valor but the rest of the sevens are so poor? And indeed Crowley wasn't particularly enthusiastic about this card, and he said that it's got this weak feminine energy here. But if we go and look at the Tree of Life in more detail, this is the masculine pillar. We've got Hokmar, which is a positive Sephiroth. We've got Hesed, a positive Sephiroth, but it changes here. Netzach is actually a feminine sphere, so we've got femininity coming from Venus. And I better say that Netzach actually translates to beauty or victory, and it represents that dynamic energy or force that inspires and drives us, and often expressing through our desires and emotions. So we're getting far more earthly, emotional type energies coming from this Sephiroth here. And also, if we go to the feminine pillar here, we start off with negatives, and then we have this counterbalancing positive here. So the energy comes down and it goes down from Keter, and so we've got positive, negative, positive, negative, and here we've got two negatives. Okay, you've got Tippereth in the middle there, but you've got two negatives either side, again another weakening factor. But the reason why we have a victory in the wands and not in the other sevens is related to the astrology. And I'll talk about that next. There is a little bit of relevance in terms of the Tree of Life still, because all of the ones are associated with Absolute, and we have the cups with Brea, and Yetzirah are the swords, and Asaya are the discs. And in Absolute here, we've actually got the fiery world of inspiration, so it's the purest of all of the four worlds, being the closest to the ultimate spiritual source. So being within this suit, we have the fire that feeds the inspiration that is gained from the person represented in this card. And we've got added fire because we've got Mars in Leo, and we'll have a look at the astrology of the card next. The astrology is pretty much mixed in with the Tree of Life section. We have Mars here in Leo. This is the decan wheel. So Leo is a fixed fire sign, and we've got this energy of Mars within that. So they are normally a good combination. And they are a good combination because Leo rules the heart, and Mars gives Leo the will and determination it needs to fight for its heart's desires. So that's where the two link in. The only problem, as we've said in the previous section, is you have a lot of femininity with regards to the Sephirah on the Tree of Life, and the fact that it's so low down in touch with the earthy part. So we have this. Crowley essentially says it's a saving grace to have Mars in Leo, but it's not enough for it to be a balanced card. So that's it for the astrology. We'll next move on to the symbolism of the Seven of Wands. Luckily, we don't have a lot of symbolism to go through. So as I've demonstrated, we've got Mars skewed to the top left and Leo here just off centre. This club has 10 segments, possibly relating to the 10th Sephiroth here, which is Malkut, which is the most earthly type of force. So you've got this rather clumsy club pushing these various wands that we saw in the Six of Wands here, pushing them into the background. We have amber phoenix heads here. Again, that's the Mars influence. We'll go back to this diagram here because they're a different colour here. The phoenix heads have changed. So we've got the Mars influence here, and with the caduceus wands here, again they are red. And you had this balanced red and blue, feminine and masculine energies in the six. These have now all turned red along with the serpents, and the lotus blossoms have closed. They still have a residual blue here, but Venus doesn't operate well under this intense type of Mars energy. There's red wings of the Phoenix wand here. I don't know if there is any on the... No, there isn't any in the Six of Wands, but there is in the Five of Wands. You've got sometimes they have little wings on. Again, this is just that Martian energy represented, and you can see that the flames are coming out randomly, and they look really like the result of friction and tension rather than the free flowing flames of the six here. We could go a little further and say, well, with the red caduceus ones here, we've got the Eye of Horus there. Because it's pushed into the background, it means that our vision, our clear vision of what we're doing is distorted, because we're using up so much energy to actually resist this force from this club here. With the phoenix heads, they've turned amber, which is again the influence of Mars. I'll just go back to this. They look a lot more balanced and passive in the 6, but in the 7 they've looked far more aggressive, being in red. And it's because the phoenix really stands for like transformation. It's like this situation is using up a lot of our energy to transform in a way which is a lot more forced under pressure. So it's not happening gently. It's like the situation is forcing us to move in a particular direction. As I say, the lotus blossoms are closed here, so the openness of Venus, it's quite like the flight response, whereby all of our resources are just going to maintain our integrity, that we can't really have too much of an open heart while we're doing it. So that's it for the symbolism. I think I pretty much talked about the change between the 6 and the 7. The 5 of Wands, strife, that was also difficult. So we have a difficult card, a balancing card, and again we've got another difficult one here, with some resolution happening in the next in the series, which is the 8 of Wands. So I'll now just talk about divination and then we'll end it there. The transition from the 6 to the 7 involves a disruption of the harmony and balance of the 6 into a much more challenging scenario in the 7. This can relate to life in general, I guess, because after a period of success and things are going our way, and when things seem to be in balance, one thing we do know is that life constantly changes, and therefore we need to adapt to these changing circumstances, and we've got a different set of circumstances here. So this is a period of time when our beliefs are being challenged, and we need to hold firm in the face of opposition, which can normally be from others, or it could be our internal subconscious which is getting the best of us. So we need to have the courage of our convictions, and as I said, with it being Leo and Leo ruling the heart, we need to have that courage to stand in battle when our heart's desires are being challenged. So we'll now move on to see how all of this relates to the 7 of Wands within a Celtic cross. This is our sample Celtic cross, and we have the 7 of Wands as the first card which has been dealt, and that is the dominant energy of the spread. So when it appears in the very first position, it's immediately saying that the querent is in a difficult situation which is taking up a lot of their time and resources, and they're really going to need some encouragement to keep on going and to pool their resources to have the strength and courage to get through this period in their life. And obviously you'd be looking at other cards or dealing more cards as to how that would unfold and what would be the best course of action. If the card appeared in position number 2, which is the crossing position here, that represents the current challenge affecting their issue, and it could be that they are actually feeling overwhelmed and intimidated by those around them, but even could be some sort of bullying. But because it's a crossing card, it starts to really eke into the reversed sort of meanings of the 7 of Wands. So they don't even feel as if they're sort of getting on top of the situation, and therefore it becomes even more of a suppressing and dominant energy. Position number 3, our subconscious influences. Again, these, I guess, with the 7 as being a challenging card, subconscious influences tends again to be very challenging. It's what we push underneath the surface, so we don't necessarily have to deal with it. And it could mean that the person is battling with feelings that they're not good enough, and these make life hard for them to achieve things without a real effort and drain on their energy. So it could be someone battling low self-esteem. I guess also with the subconscious influences, it could also just be that they know subconsciously they've got to battle for everything that they really want in their life. It's not being handed to them, and that can be a good thing. In position number 4, where we've got recent past influencing our situation, it could mean that we have used our strength of character to good effect in the past, that we've seen situations that we've had to really put all of our resources on the line, and we've come through it and it's been a real achievement for us, and therefore we can pull on that experience, that strength, to get us through the current situation, which would be whatever was in the number 1 position here. In position number 5, our hopes and goals, it's really related to the person being able to see themselves as someone that can have the resolve and self-belief to stand up for what they believe in, no matter what. It's having the courage also to face their inner demons as well as challenging situations in their life. So it's getting back in touch with that deepest energy to overcome life's challenges. Position number 6, our immediate future. A situation could be coming along which will test that person's resolve, and they will need to be able to listen to others, to not have the inflexibility of just holding on to their beliefs no matter what, but it's having that strength and determination to carry their heart's desires through whilst maintaining a flexible approach to the situation. So in this position here, I'd be emphasising both the strength of resolve but also the flexibility of communication. Position number 7, how you are affecting your situation. I've reversed it here just to give variety. So if it's reversed in how we're affecting our situation, which is obviously the card number 1, it could indicate that we have a tendency to please others for fear of conflict, and therefore we just give in. So we're running away from the conflict, we're not actually maintaining our stance and trying to resolve it whilst supporting our point of view. So it's a tendency to please others. Position number 8, how others are affecting your situation. And that's our external environment, and it could mean that our external environment could be a work environment which is challenging rather than supportive, contesting rather than cooperative, that sort of thing. Especially the workplace today, it's very, very competitive and aggressive in a lot of situations. Position number 9, advice and guidance. So the 7 of Wands really means that you'll not always please everyone all the time with your actions, but you really just must stand up for what you truly believe in your heart, that Leo, that passion, and really just not be intimidated into leading a life others want you to live. And lastly, card number 10, the final one, it's a good card to have, really, because it's overcoming great challenges in your life and coming out the other side with increased self-belief and strength of purpose. So that sums up the Seven of Wands. I hope it's been of some help. Again, these are only just examples of, an application in any particular spread, but hopefully that has given you some guidance on this card. So next up, Eight of Wands.